Welcome back to Tina Romance Library, where powerful alphas fall hard, and the women they underestimate change everything. Every story here is complete, immersive, and emotion-driven. No cliffhangers, no rushed endings, just full romances you can sink into. So if you love possessive alphas, strong heroines who don't beg, slow burn tension, emotional payoffs, and stories that actually finish, you're in the right place. I need you to join the pack right now by subscribing. Leave a like if you enjoy immersive romance. And settle in because once the story begins, we don't stop until the ending. Now, let's get into it. I didn't think anyone would find me here. The cemetery sits on the edge of Packlands, where the forest starts to swallow the light and the mist clings low to the ground like it's mourning too. My father's grave is fresh, so fresh the earth is still dark and soft, still smells like rain and roots being torn apart. The headstone is simple, too simple for a man who gave everything to this pack, who worked his hands raw and his back bent until there was nothing left of him but exhausted bones and a heart that finally, mercifully, stopped. I'm on my knees in the mud, and I don't care that it's soaking through my jeans, that the cold is biting into my skin. I don't care about anything except the fact that he's gone, and I couldn't save him. My fingers trace the letters of his name carved into the stone, clumsy, shaking. I can barely see them through the tears. They keep coming, hot and relentless, streaking down my face faster than I can wipe them away. My chest aches with it, this horrible pressure that won't release, won't ease. It just builds and builds until I think I might shatter right here, collapse into the dirt beside him and never get back up. And maybe that would be easier. Because what's waiting for me back home? My mother, hollow-eyed and silent, staring at the eviction notice nailed to our door. My younger brother, 12 years old and trying so hard to be brave, asking me if we're going to be okay. I lied to him, told him yes, told him I'd figure it out, but I don't know how. The land, our land, the only thing my father left us, has been seized, taken by the Pax Council under some fabricated debt, some lie written on paper that no one will question because we're Omegas, and Omegas don't get to argue. We don't get to fight back. We don't even get to be heard. I've spent 2 days trying to find someone who will listen. 2 days of closed doors and dismissive glances, of being told to accept it, to move on, to be grateful we're not being thrown out faster. No one cares. No one ever cares when it's just us. That's the truth about being an Omega in this pack. We're invisible until we're useful. We're silent until we're told to speak. And when we cry, when we break, no one hears it. No one wants to. So I came here, to the one place where I thought I could let it all out without judgment, where I could scream and sob and pound my fists into the earth and no one would tell me to be quiet, to be smaller, to behave. I press my forehead against the cold stone and let myself break. And that's when I feel it. Not a sound, not footsteps or breath or movement, just presence. A weight in the air that wasn't there a moment ago, heavy and undeniable. It presses against my wolf, and she stirs inside me, not in alarm, but in something deeper, something instinctive, recognition. My entire body goes still, my breath catches. The tears freeze on my cheeks. I don't turn around. I don't have to. I already know who it is. The Alpha King, Kale Thorn. The most powerful wolf in the territory, maybe in the entire region. He's a legend whispered about in kitchens and around fires, a name that carries weight even when spoken softly. He's ruthless in war, unshakable in leadership, and so far above someone like me that we might as well exist in different worlds. And he's standing behind me right now. My heart slams against my ribs. Panic flares hot and immediate. What is he doing here? Did I trespass somehow? Am I in trouble? Omegas aren't supposed to draw attention, especially not from alphas, and especially not from him. I should stand. I should bow my head, apologize, make myself small and unthreatening. That's what's expected. That's what keeps us safe. But I can't move. My wolf won't let me. She's calm. Too calm. She's not afraid of him. And that terrifies me more than anything else, because she should be. Every instinct should be screaming at us to submit, to lower our eyes, to show our throat, but instead she's quiet, watchful, curious. The silence stretches. I can feel him there, just a few feet away, and the air between us hums with something I don't understand. My hands are still pressed against my father's headstone, my knees still sinking into the mud, and I'm frozen between grief and fear and this strange, unbidden awareness of him. Then he speaks. "Who did this to you?" His voice is low, rough. Not the commanding bark I expected. Not the cold authority that alphas usually wield like a weapon. It's softer than that. Controlled. Yes, there's power in every syllable, but there's something else too. Something that sounds almost like concern. I finally turn my head, just enough to glance over my shoulder, and I forget how to breathe. He's kneeling. The Alpha King is kneeling in the mud beside me, not standing over me, not looming, not asserting dominance. He's on my level, his dark eyes fixed on my face with an intensity that makes my stomach flip. His jaw is tight, his expression carved from stone, but there's something burning in his gaze, something fierce and barely restrained. He's close enough that I can smell him. Steel and pine and cold night air. Authority wrapped in wilderness. It should overwhelm me, should send my wolf cowering, but instead it does something worse. It steadies me. "I asked you a question." His voice drops even lower, and I realize with a jolt that he's gentler now, like he's afraid of scaring me. "Who did this?" My throat tightens. I want to look away, to hide my tear-streaked face, but I can't. His eyes won't let me. "My father," I whisper, and my voice cracks on the word. "He died, and they took everything." Something flickers across his face, rage, maybe, or pain. His hands curl into fists against his thighs, and for a second I think he's going to stand, going to leave, going to write me off as just another sob story he doesn't have time for. But he doesn't. He stays. He shows up 3 days later. I'm in the garden behind our cottage, what's left of it, anyway, trying to salvage the winter vegetables before the council's men come to tear up the land. My hands are caked in dirt, my back aching from hours bent over the rows, and I'm so exhausted I barely register the sound at first. Then it hits me. Thunder. Not the sky kind, the earth kind. Hoofbeats. Multiple horses moving fast, their rhythms synchronized and purposeful. My head snaps up, my heart lurching into my throat. My wolf stirs uneasily, caught between flight and fight, knowing neither will save us. The council. It has to be. They've come early to throw us out, to make an example of us, too. But when the riders crest the hill, I see the banner, black and silver. The king's colors. My breath stops. Inside the cottage, I hear my mother's sharp intake of air, the scrape of a chair as she stands too quickly. My brother appears in the doorway, his eyes wide, his small frame rigid with fear. We've learned to associate power with pain, authority with loss. When alphas come to Omega homes, it's never good news. I drop the vegetables and move toward the door, positioning myself between the riders and my family. It's instinct. Pointless, maybe, but I can't stop myself. The horses slow as they approach. There are 5 of them, 4 warriors in formal guard attire, and him. Cale Thorn dismounts in one fluid motion, his boots hitting the ground with a solid thud that I feel in my chest. He's dressed differently than he was at the cemetery. No casual traveling clothes now, he's in full alpha regalia. Dark leather and polished steel, a long coat that moves like shadow, authority written into every line of his body. He looks like exactly what he is, a king. And he's walking straight toward my door. My mother steps out onto the threshold, and I move beside her. She's trembling. I can feel it in the air between us, smell the fear rolling off her in waves. My brother presses against her other side, trying to be brave and failing. "Your Majesty." My mother's voice is barely above a whisper. She starts to bow, but Cale raises a hand. "Don't." The word is gentle but absolute. "Please." He stops a respectful distance away, And for the first time since arriving, his gaze finds mine. Something passes between us. Recognition, maybe. Memory of shared grief beside a grave. His expression doesn't change, but his eyes, they soften. Just slightly. Mira. He says my name like he's been holding it in his mouth since we last spoke. Your mother is Elena. Your brother is Finn. It's not a question. He knows. He remembered. My mother makes a small, shocked sound. Alphas don't remember Omega names. They don't care enough to learn them in the first place. May I come in? He asks. And the fact that he's asking at all, not ordering, not assuming, sends another shock through my system. My mother nods frantically, stepping aside. Of course, Your Majesty, please. It's not much, but it's your home, he says simply, and steps inside. He has to duck slightly to clear the doorframe. Our cottage wasn't built for someone his size, with his presence. He fills the small front room immediately, making our furniture look like children's toys, but he moves carefully, deliberately, like he's aware of every inch of space he occupies and determined not to crowd us. His warriors remain outside. I hear him murmur something to them, an order, quick and quiet, and then he's turning back to us, his attention absolute. I need to ask you some questions, he says, directing this to my mother first. Always the proper hierarchy, even when he's kneeling in mud. About your husband. About the land claim. I need to understand exactly what happened. My mother's hands twist in her apron. I don't know much, Your Majesty. They came with papers. They said we owed. Start from the beginning. His voice is patient. Steady. Take your time. So she does. Haltingly at first, then faster. The words spilling out like she's been waiting for anyone to finally listen. She tells him about my father's death, about the men who showed up 2 days later with documents bearing official seals, about debts she'd never heard of, transactions my father supposedly made but never mentioned, about being given 1 week to vacate land that had been in our family for 3 generations. Kale listens without interrupting. His gaze never wavers from my mother's face, giving her the full weight of his attention in a way that I suspect few people ever receive. And every so often, just for a heartbeat, his eyes flick to me. Checking. Making sure I'm all right. It shouldn't affect me the way it does. It shouldn't make my pulse quicken or my wolf perk up with interest. But it does. When my mother finishes, Kyle turns to my brother. And kneels. Not a partial crouch. Not a polite lean. He drops to one knee so that he's looking up at Finn, putting himself in a position of vulnerability before a 12-year-old Omega boy. Finn, he says quietly, did you see the men who came? Can you tell me what they looked like? My brother's fear melts into something like awe. He nods, his voice steadier than it's been in days. There were 3 of them. One was tall with a gray beard. He had a ring silver with a red stone. He's the one who nailed the notice to our door. Kale's jaw tightens, but his expression remains calm. Good. That's very helpful. You're brave for remembering. Finn stands a little straighter. Then Kale rises and turns to me. I need to see the boundary markers. Will you show me? It's not a command. It's a request. I nod, not trusting my voice, and lead him outside. The boundary stones are old ancient, really. They were placed when the pack first settled this territory, before there were councils or formalized claims, when a wolf's word and their scent mark were enough. My father used to bring me here when I was small, teaching me the history of our land, making me memorize every marker. Kale walks beside me, not ahead. His warriors trail at a distance, close enough to respond if needed, but far enough to give us space. The forest closes around us, muffling sound, and I become acutely aware of him. His size, his warmth, the controlled power in every step. How long has your family held this land? He asks, his voice low, meant only for me. Since the pack's founding, I answer, 147 years. He glances at me, something flickering in his eyes. Respect, maybe. You know your history. My father made sure of it. He sounds like a good man. The past tense makes my throat tight. He was. We walk in silence for a moment, and then KL speaks again, even quieter now. I'm sorry I didn't know about this sooner. I should have. That failure is mine. I stop walking, startled. He stops too, turning to face me fully. You can't know everything that happens in the pack, I say, because it's true. Because he's the king and he has entire territories to manage, wars to prevent, politics to navigate. No, he agrees. But I should know when my people are suffering, especially when that suffering is caused by corruption within my own council. The word corruption hangs in the air like a blade. We reach the first boundary stone. Kale crouches beside it, running his fingers over the carved marks pack symbols, dates, names. His hands are bare despite the cold, and I watch as he traces each element with careful precision. He does this at every stone, 6 in total, marking the perimeter of our land. At each one, he examines, he touches, he understands. This isn't performative. He's actually investigating. At the final stone, he goes still. Here, he says, and there's something sharp in his voice now. Dangerous. I move closer, looking where he's pointing. There's a symbol carved into the base, a seal I don't recognize. It's cruder than the others, newer. This was added recently, Kale says. Within the last month. He pulls a piece of parchment from his coat, one of the documents my mother mentioned, which he must have taken from the cottage. He holds it up, comparing the seal pressed into the wax with the carving on the stone. They don't match. Not exactly. Close, but not perfect. The lines are slightly different, the proportions off by fractions. Forgery, he says, and his voice could cut steel. Someone tried to alter the boundary claim and forged the council's seal to legitimize it. The world tilts. My knees go weak, and before I can stop myself, I'm swaying. Kale moves fast, faster than someone his size should be able to, and his hand closes around my arm, steadying me, grounding me. Easy, he murmurs, and his grip is firm but careful. I've got you. I look up at him, and the fury in his eyes isn't directed at me. It's for me, burning cold and absolute. This land is yours, he says. It was always yours. Someone tried to steal it, and they used lies to do it. His thumb brushes once against my arm, barely a touch, probably unconscious. I'm going to find out who, and I'm going to make this right. He doesn't let go immediately. Neither do I. Back at the cottage, my mother is waiting on the steps, my brother beside her. When she sees Kale's expression, her hand flies to her mouth. The claim is fraudulent, Kale announces, his voice carrying clear and strong. The debt is fabricated, the seal is forged. He looks at my mother directly. You owe nothing. This land belongs to you, as it always has. My mother's legs give out. She sits down hard on the steps, and for the first time since my father died, she cries. But it's not grief. It's relief. Finn wraps his arms around her, crying too, and I stand there in the garden with dirt under my nails and the Alpha King's hand still warm on my arm, and I think, maybe someone does hear us when we cry. Maybe someone finally does. He doesn't leave after that day. Well, he does, technically. Returns to the capital to begin formal proceedings, to pull records and interview council members. But 3 days later, he's back. And this time, he brings a question. There are 6 other families, he says, standing in our doorway again like he belongs there. Like it's becoming habit. 6 other Omega households that lost land in the past year under similar circumstances. I need to speak with them. My mother is at the stove, and she glances at me before answering. They won't talk to you, Your Majesty. No offense meant, but they're afraid. Omegas don't trust Alphas with our truth. Not after what's been done to us. Kale's expression darkens, but not with anger, with something that looks like shame. I understand, but they might talk to Mira, my mother continues, and my head snaps toward her. She's looking at me with that expression she gets when she's already decided something and is just waiting for me to catch up. If she asks them, if she explains that you listen to us, no. The word comes from Kale, sharp and immediate. I won't ask her to. I'll do it, I say. Both of them turn to stare at me. I'll do it, I repeat, stronger now. If it helps. If it means other families can get justice too. I meet Kale's gaze directly, watching something complicated move through his eyes. I want to help. He studies me for a long moment, and I can feel my wolf stirring under that attention, preening in a way that should embarrass me but doesn't. All right, he says finally. But only if you're certain, and only if I can ensure your safety. That's how I end up traveling across pack territory with the Alpha King. We visit the first family the next morning, the Cordells' mother, daughter, and an elderly grandmother living in a house that's slowly falling apart because they can't afford repairs. They're wary when they see Kale's warriors, terrified when they see him. But when I step forward, when I take Mrs. Cordell's hands and tell her what he did for us, something shifts. She talks, haltingly at first, then faster. The same story. Forged documents, impossible debts, land seized within days of her husband's death. Kale listens with that same absolute attention, and when she's done, he promises the same thing he promised us. I will make this right. We visit the second family, the third. Each time, I'm the bridge, the translator between Omega fear and Alpha power. And each time, Kale proves that he meant what he said at my father's grave. Perhaps the problem is that Alphas don't do this for Omegas. He's trying to change that, one family at a time. But it's the small moments between visits that undo me. We travel on horseback, me on a gentle mare from the royal stables, him on a massive black stallion that suits him perfectly. His warriors ride ahead and behind, maintaining professional distance, and that leaves us in the middle, together, alone, in the way that matters. You're good at this, he says on the third day as we're riding through a stretch of forest between families. The autumn light filters through the leaves, turning everything gold and amber. At what? I ask. Making people feel safe. He glances at me, and there's something soft in his expression, something that makes my stomach flip. You have a gift for it. I don't know what to say to that, so I deflect. I just tell them the truth, that you listened when no one else would. That's more than truth. His voice drops lower. That's faith. And after what these families have been through, faith is harder to give than gold. We ride in silence for a while, and I become hyper-aware of everything about him. The way he sits his horse with unconscious grace, the breadth of his shoulders blocking out the sun, the controlled power in every movement, like he's always aware of his own strength and careful not to let it overwhelm, and the way he keeps adjusting his position, subtle shifts that bring him closer to my side of the path. Small changes in formation that put him between me and his warriors. At first, I think I'm imagining it. But then one of the younger warriors, a man named Garrett, rides up beside me with a question about the route. Harmless, professional. He's smiling, polite, and I'm answering when I feel it. The change in the air. Kale's scent sharpens, just slightly. Just enough that my wolf notices and my pulse kicks up. When I glance at him, his jaw is tight. His eyes fixed on Garrett with an intensity that has nothing to do with directions. That's close enough, Garrett, Kale says, and his voice is pleasant, perfectly controlled, absolutely lethal. Garrett pales and immediately falls back. My heart is hammering. That wasn't about protection or protocol. That was something else. Something possessive and barely restrained. And I shouldn't like it, I shouldn't respond to it, but my wolf is practically purring. Kale doesn't look at me, doesn't acknowledge what just happened, just keeps riding, his expression neutral, like he didn't just send a clear signal to his own warrior to back off. We stop for the night at a way station, a small lodge maintained for travelers between territories. It's modest but clean, with a common room and several private chambers. Kale's warriors take the outer rooms, establishing a perimeter, while Kale insists I take the nicest chamber. I'll take the common room, he says when I protest. You're the king, I argue. You should have the... You're under my protection, he interrupts, and there's that edge again, that barely controlled intensity. Which means you get the safest room, non-negotiable. I've learned when to stop arguing with him. Dinner is simple bread, cheese, dried meat, and wine from the way station's stores. We eat at a rough wooden table, just the two of us, his warriors having already taken their meal and retired to their posts. The fire crackles in the hearth. The room is warm and quiet, almost intimate, and I'm acutely aware that we're alone in a way we haven't been before. No family to mediate, no purpose to hide behind. Just us. This must be strange for you, I say, breaking the silence. Staying in places like this. You probably have palaces and 17 formal residences, he says, and there's dry humor in his voice. None of them feel like this. Like what? Real. He takes a drink of wine, considering. Comfortable. Like a place people actually live instead of just occupy. I smile despite myself. Is that your way of saying the palace is uncomfortable? The palace is a monument to power. He sets down his cup, and his eyes find mine across the table. But power isn't the same thing as home. I learned that a long time ago. There's something vulnerable in that admission. Something that makes me want to ask questions I have no right to ask. Do you have a home? I hear myself say. Or just residences. He's quiet for a moment, and I think I've overstepped. But then he answers. I did. Once. A small house on the northern border, near the mountains. My parents raised me there before. He trails off, and I don't push. I haven't been back in years. Why not? Because kings don't get to be sentimental. But the way he says it sounds like he wishes they could. The conversation shifts after that, becoming easier. He asks about my father, and I tell him stories about learning to track, about helping in the forge, about the way my father used to sing while he worked. And somehow, that turns into Kale telling me about pack law, about reforms he's trying to implement, about the resistance he faces from traditionalists on the council. What do you think? He asks at one point, leaning forward. About separating civil disputes from criminal ones. Should Omegas have the right to bring grievances directly to the Alpha Court? I blink. You're asking my opinion? On pack law? You're intelligent. You understand the system from a perspective I don't have. His gaze is steady, serious. So yes, I'm asking. No one has ever asked me about policy before. About anything beyond household management or child rearing. And here's the Alpha King, treating my thoughts like they matter. Like they're worth his time. I tell him what I think. He listens, argues some points, concedes others. And somewhere in the middle of it, I realize two things. One, he's brilliant. Sharp and strategic in ways that make my pulse quicken for entirely inappropriate reasons. Two, my heart is betraying me. Because this can't happen. Whatever this is, this tension, this connection, this feeling like my soul recognizes his, it can't happen. He's the Alpha King. I'm an Omega nobody from a family that just lost everything. There are laws against this. Traditions. Expectations. And yet, when he laughs rare and genuine, surprised out of him by something I said, I feel it in my chest like sunlight. We travel for 7 days total. 7 families. 7 stories of theft and grief and forged documents, and by the end, Kale has enough evidence to burn the council to the ground. We return to the capital tomorrow, he says on our last night. The assembly will be called. The guilty parties will answer for what they've done. We're standing outside the way station, looking up at the stars. His warriors are inside, giving us this moment of privacy. What happens to the families, I ask. After justice is served? Their land is restored, their debts erased. He turns to look at me, and the starlight catches in his eyes. And they'll be compensated for what was taken. I'll see to it personally. They'll worship you for this. I don't want worship. His voice drops, becomes something rougher. I just want to do what's right. What should have been done from the start. The way he's looking at me makes it hard to breathe. Like I'm not just a means to an end. Like I'm something more. Mira, he starts, and my name on his lips sounds like a question and an answer all at once. But before he can continue, one of his warriors appears in the doorway. Your Majesty, message from the capital. The assembly is scheduled for 3 days from now. The moment breaks. Kale nods. All business again. And I'm left wondering what he was about to say, what I wanted him to say. The Capitol's Great Hall is enormous vaulted ceilings, stone pillars, banners hanging from iron rings. It's designed to intimidate, and it works. I stand in the crowd of observers, Omega families clustered together for safety, and try not to feel small. The council members file in, taking their seats on the raised platform. And there, in the center, is Marcus Thornwell, the man with the gray beard and the silver ring, the one who nailed the eviction notice to our door. He looks smug, comfortable, like he's certain this is just a formality. Then Kyle enters. The hall goes silent. He's in full ceremonial armor now, black and silver, crowned and lethal, every inch the king that legends are made of. His warriors flank him, and when he climbs the steps to the throne, the weight of his authority presses down on everyone in the room. His eyes sweep the crowd, and find me. For just a heartbeat, he holds my gaze. And in that moment, I see everything. The promise, the fury, the determination. Then he turns to face the council, and his voice rings out like a blade being drawn. This assembly is called to address charges of corruption, fraud, and theft against Omega families under my protection. Marcus Thornwell's smile falters. Let's begin. Kale doesn't sit on the throne. He stands in front of it, and somehow that's more powerful, more deliberate. Like he's choosing to meet this corruption at eye level rather than look down from on high. Marcus Thornwell, he says, and his voice carries to every corner of the hall. Step forward. Marcus rises slowly, that smug smile still plastered on his face. He's confident, protected by years of unopposed authority, by the belief that council members are untouchable, that Omegas don't matter enough to fight for. He's about to learn differently. You stand accused of orchestrating fraudulent land seizures against Omega families, Kale continues. His tone is clinical, precise, like he's reading a death sentence which, in a way, he is. Of forging official council seals, of fabricating debts and documents to justify theft. How do you answer these charges? Marcus spreads his hands, playing to the crowd. Your Majesty, with all due respect, these are serious accusations based on evidence. Kale interrupts, and the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Physical evidence. Testimony from 7 families. Authenticated by 3 separate sealmasters who confirmed forgery, and witness statements from your own clerks who, when offered immunity, admitted to following your orders. The smile slips from Marcus's face. Kale signals, and his warriors produce documents, stacks of them, organized and labeled. They spread them across a table in full view of the assembly. Boundary markers, forged seals, ledgers showing payments Marcus received from merchants who wanted Omega land for expansion. The Ashford family, Kale says, and I go rigid because that's my name, my family, lost 12 acres of generational land, 3 days after Garrett Ashford's death. The seizure was justified by a debt of 300 gold marks, a debt that never existed. The seal was forged. The witnesses were bribed. He moves to the next document. The Cordell family. 8 acres, 200 marks, forged. Another document. The Brennan family. 15 acres, 400 marks, forged. He goes through all 7, every family, every fabricated debt, every stolen piece of land. And with each name, Marcus Thornwell shrinks. In total, Kale says, his voice cutting like a blade, you orchestrated the theft of 63 acres of Omega land. You profited to the sum of 2,000 gold marks through bribes and resale, and you did this while serving on the council that was meant to protect these families. The hall is dead silent. Even Marcus's allies on the council have gone pale, distancing themselves, understanding that association with this will destroy them too. You are found guilty, Kale declares, by evidence, by testimony, and by your own greed laid bare before this assembly. Marcus's knees buckle. One of the warriors catches him, forces him upright. Your sentence is as follows. Kale's voice doesn't rise, but it fills every space, every silence. All lands seized under false pretense will be returned to their rightful owners, with full restoration of boundaries and titles. All debts fabricated in your name are void. You will pay restitution triple the amount you stole to be distributed among the affected families. A murmur runs through the crowd. Triple restitution is devastating. It will bankrupt Marcus completely. But Kyle isn't finished. Your seat on the council is stripped. Your title is revoked. Your land holdings are forfeit to the crown, to be used as compensation for those you've harmed. He pauses, and the next words are quieter, but infinitely more dangerous. And you are banished from this pack. You have 72 hours to leave our territory. If you return, the sentence is death. Marcus collapses completely. The warriors have to drag him to his feet, and he's babbling now, begging, offering bribes, swearing it was a misunderstanding, but Kale has already turned away, dismissing him, erasing him. His eyes sweep the hall again, finding the cluster of Omega families, finding me. And in that look, I see it. The promise, the fierce protection, the unspoken words. You were worth this, all of you. My chest tightens, because he didn't just do this for me. He did it because it was right, because these families deserved justice, but also because I asked him to care, because I showed him the truth, and he chose to act. The assembly dissolves in chaos, council members scrambling, merchants who'd bought stolen land panicking, Omega families crying with relief. But through it all, Kale stands unmoved at the center, a pillar of controlled power. And I can't look away. The backlash starts within days. Whispers in the market, pointed conversations in taverns. The king is going soft, caring too much about Omegas, letting sentiment cloud his judgment. Some of it is louder than whispers. He's making us weak. I hear a merchant complain to his companion as I pass through the market square, catering to the lowest ranks. What's next, giving them council seats? The disdain in his voice makes my wolf snarl, but I keep walking. This isn't my fight to pick. Not here. But it becomes Kale's. 3 young Alpha's cocky warriors from prominent families decide to test him, to see if the rumors are true, if he's lost his edge. I hear about it from my brother, who heard it from a stable hand, who heard it from the guards. There's going to be a challenge in the training ring. Public, formal enough to be legal, but disrespectful enough to be an insult. I shouldn't go. It's not my place. But my feet carry me there anyway, drawn by something I don't want to name. The training ring is packed when I arrive. Word has spread. Everyone wants to see if their king is still strong, or if compassion has made him vulnerable. Kyle is already there, stripped down to training leathers, his formal armor and crown set aside. Without them, he looks different, still powerful, impossibly so, but more raw, more real. The scars on his arms are visible, the brutal evidence of battles fought and survived. The 3 challengers face him. They're younger, eager to prove themselves. They think numbers will give them an advantage. They're wrong. The fight starts fast. The first Alpha lunges, and Kale sidesteps with liquid grace, using the man's momentum against him. A quick strike to the back of the knee, and the challenger goes down. Not injured, Kale is too controlled for that, but humiliated. The second and third attack together, trying to flank him. Kale moves like violence given form, every motion economical and devastating. He doesn't waste energy, doesn't showboat, just systematically dismantles their offense until both are on the ground, breathing hard, defeated. It takes less than 3 minutes. Kale stands over them, barely winded, and the message is clear. I am still your king. Don't forget it. The crowd erupts, some cheering, some silent with shock. And I'm standing at the edge, my heart pounding so hard I think it might break through my ribs. Because watching him fight, watching that perfect control, that raw power tempered by precision does something to me. Something primal and undeniable. My wolf is entranced, and so am I. His eyes scan the crowd, and when they find me, something shifts in his expression. The cold dominance softens, just for a moment, just for me. Pride swells in my chest, fierce and possessive, and I think, that's my alpha. Except he's not. He can't be. But my heart doesn't seem to care about logic anymore. The land is returned within the week. Workers arrive at our cottage with new boundary stones, official documents bearing Kale's personal seal. My mother cries again, happy tears this time, and Finn runs through the fields like he's discovering them for the first time. And with the land comes restitution. Enough gold to repair the cottage, to replant the fields, to rebuild what was lost. My mother does what she does best. She bakes. Within days, our kitchen smells like bread and honey cakes, and the cinnamon rolls my father used to love. She bakes for the other families too, delivering baskets to the Cordells and Brennans, using food as the language of healing she's always spoken best. We should reopen the bakery, she says one morning, flour dusting her hands, hope lighting her eyes for the first time in months. Your father always wanted to. We have the space now, the means. So we do. It takes work clearing out the old stone oven, repairing the chimney, building new shelves. We're in the middle of hauling timber when a familiar voice says, "That beam's too heavy for 2 people. I spin around, and there he is. KL, in plain clothes, no crown, no guards, just him. Your Majesty, my mother stammers, immediately trying to curtsy with flour-covered hands. Please don't. He smiles, actually smiles, and moves toward the timber. Let me help. And he does. The Alpha King helps us rebuild our bakery. He's stronger than any of us, lifting beams that would take 3 men, steadying the ladder while I climb to patch the roof. He works without complaint, without expectation of deference, just working beside us like he belongs there. At one point, I'm balanced on the roof, trying to hammer a loose shingle back into place, and the ladder shifts. My stomach drops, my balance tilts, and Kale's hands close around my waist, steadying me, grounding me. Careful, he murmurs, and his voice is low enough that only I can hear. His hands are warm through my shirt, his grip firm but careful, and I'm suddenly very aware of how close we are, how easily he could lift me down, how safe I feel in his hold. I'm okay. I manage, but I don't move. Neither does he. Are you sure? There's something in his tone, something almost playful, because you seem a little unsteady. I look down at him, and he's smiling, actually teasing me. The ladder shifted. I protest, but I'm smiling too. It wasn't my fault. Of course not. His thumbs brush against my sides barely a touch, probably unconscious, and heat floods through me. Are you doubting my carpentry skills, Your Majesty? I wouldn't dare. But his eyes are sparkling with humor, and something else, something warmer. My mother clears her throat loudly from inside the bakery, and we both startle. Kale's hands drop immediately, and I scramble down the ladder with as much dignity as I can muster, which is approximately none. He helps for hours, through the afternoon and into the evening, until the repairs are done and the oven is ready and the bakery looks like something that might actually work. My mother insists he stay for dinner. He agrees, settling at our small table like he's done it 100 times. We eat bread still warm from the oven, cheese from the market, and the last of the summer vegetables from our garden. And we laugh. Actual, genuine laughter. Finn tells a story about the geese that chased him through the market, complete with dramatic reenactment. Kale adds a comment about geese being more effective guards than most warriors. My mother shares an embarrassing story about my father trying to bake his first loaf and nearly burning down the cottage. It's easy, comfortable, like we're not a king and Omega family but just people, sharing a meal, building something together. And somewhere between the laughter and the warmth and the way Kyle's knee bumps mine under the table, I realize the truth I've been avoiding. I'm falling for him, not the king, not the title or the power or the authority. Him, the man who kneels beside graves, who listens to Omega stories like they matter, who fights for justice and helps repair bakery roofs and laughs at stories about vengeful geese. The man who looks at me like I'm worth kneeling for. And that terrifies me more than anything else ever has. The market is busier than usual on the day it happens. Our bakery has been open for 2 weeks, and word has spread. My mother's honey cakes are becoming famous again, the way they were before my father died, before everything fell apart. We're rebuilding, slowly, carefully, but genuinely. I'm at our stall, arranging loaves of bread and wrapping pastries in cloth, when I feel the shift in the air. That particular tension that comes when predators enter a space and everyone else goes still. 3 women approach. Alphas, all of them, from prominent families. I recognize one Celeste Blackwood, whose father sits on the council. She's beautiful in that sharp, calculated way. Expensive clothes, perfect hair. The kind of woman who's never had to wonder where her next meal would come from. The kind of woman a king should choose. They stop at my stall, and Celeste picks up one of the honey cakes, examining it like it might be poisoned. "So this is the famous bakery," she says, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "The one everyone's talking about. We're honored by the attention," I say carefully, keeping my voice neutral. My wolf is already on edge, hackles raised. "I'm sure you are." Celeste sets down the cake without buying it. "It must be quite the change, going from nearly homeless to this. Tell me, how exactly did you manage such a reversal of fortune?" The implication is clear. The other 2 women smile like sharks. "Our land was returned," I say evenly. "Justice was served." "Justice." Celeste laughs, and it's not a kind sound. "Is that what we're calling it now? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you manipulated our king with tears and a sad story. Very clever, really. Using your Omega nature to what?" I interrupt, and my voice is sharper now, harder. "To tell the truth? To ask for what was rightfully ours? To expect that laws should apply to everyone, not just the powerful?" Her eyes narrow. "Watch your tone. You may have charmed His Majesty, but you're still just an Omega. Still beneath you?" I step out from behind the stall, and I'm not cowering anymore, not making myself small. Because I was born Omega? Because my father worked with his hands instead of sitting in council chambers? Because we don't have your wealth or your title? A crowd is gathering now. I can feel them watching, listening. This is dangerous, challenging an alpha publicly, especially one with Celeste's connections. But I'm so tired of being dismissed, of being treated like I'm less than, of watching people like her look down on people like us. My father, I continue, my voice carrying, was worth 10 of the men on that council. He was honest. He worked until his body broke. He built something with his own hands and asked for nothing but fairness in return. And when he died, they tried to steal everything he left us. Not because we didn't deserve it, but because they thought no one would care. Celeste's face is flushed with anger now. "How dare you?" "They were wrong," I say. "Someone did care. Someone listened. And justice, actual justice, was served. If that threatens you, if that makes you uncomfortable, then maybe you should ask yourself why." The silence is deafening. Celeste looks like she wants to hit me. Her companions are whispering urgently, trying to pull her back. And that's when I feel it. His presence. I don't turn around. I don't need to. I know he's there, somewhere in the crowd, watching. But he doesn't intervene. He doesn't step forward, doesn't use his authority to shut this down, doesn't command Celeste to back off. He just waits. Trusts me to handle this myself. And that means more than any rescue could. Celeste must sense him too, because her anger shifts to calculation. She forces a smile, cold and brittle. "Enjoy your bakery, Omega. For now." It's a threat, a promise that this isn't over. But I don't flinch. I meet her gaze steadily until she turns and walks away, her companions following. The crowd disperses slowly, returning to their business. And finally, I turn. Kale is standing near a fabric merchant's stall, partially obscured by shadow. Our eyes meet across the market square, and he nods once. Slow, deliberate. "Well done," that nod says. "I'm proud of you." He doesn't come over, doesn't make a scene, just offers that single gesture of respect and then slips away, leaving me standing there with my heart racing and my hands shaking and a fierce pride burning in my chest. Because he trusted me. He stood beside me without standing in front of me. And somehow, that's when I know for certain. I love him. He starts finding excuses to visit after that. Small things, reasonable things, checking on the bakery's progress, consulting with my mother about Omega representation in pack decisions, bringing Finn a book about wolf history that he thought my brother would enjoy. But the real reason, the one we both know but don't acknowledge, is simpler. He wants to see me, and I want to see him. We don't talk about it. We can't. The gulf between King and Omega is too vast, the complications too many. There's no mate bond pulling us together, no mystical force making this inevitable. Just choice. Dangerous, complicated, impossible choice. But that doesn't stop the moments from accumulating. His hand brushing mine when he passes me a tool during repairs. The way his eyes find me first when he enters a room. The conversations that stretch long into the evening, covering everything and nothing, politics and philosophy and what we'd be if we weren't who we are. Do you ever wish you were different? I ask him one night. We're sitting on the cottage steps, the autumn air cool around us, everyone else asleep inside. Different how? He asks. Just, not a king, not carrying all that weight. He's quiet for a long moment. Sometimes, he admits. When I was younger, I used to dream about running, just shifting and disappearing into the forest and never coming back. He glances at me. Do you ever wish you weren't Omega? No, I say, surprising myself with how quickly I answer. Not anymore. I used to. When I was younger and saw how differently we were treated. But now, I trail off, searching for words. Being Omega taught me things. About resilience. About finding strength in places alphas never have to look. About community and care, and fighting for what matters even when you're not supposed to be able to fight at all. You're extraordinary, he says quietly, and it's not flattery. It's fact, stated with absolute certainty. I'm just me. Exactly. He turns toward me, and the intensity in his gaze steals my breath. You're brave and fierce and honest. You stood up to counsel corruption and market bullies and your own grief. You rebuilt your family from nothing. He stops, jaw tightening like he's said too much. I'm what? I whisper. But he doesn't answer. Just looks at me like I'm something precious and terrifying all at once. His hand lifts, hesitates, then gently brushes a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers linger against my cheek, and I stop breathing entirely. Mira, he says, and my name sounds like a prayer. The cottage door opens. My mother appears, looking for me, and the moment shatters. KL stands immediately, putting proper distance between us, but his eyes stay on mine for one more heartbeat, full of things unsaid. Then he's gone, disappearing into the night, and I'm left sitting on the steps wondering what he was about to say, what I wanted him to say. The message comes 3 days later. A simple note, delivered by a royal courier, sealed with Kyle's personal mark. It contains only a few words. Meet me at your father's grave at sunset. Please, K. My heart stops, starts again, races. I tell my mother I'm going for a walk. She gives me a knowing look but doesn't ask questions. Finn is too absorbed in his book to notice, and I slip out into the late afternoon light, following the familiar path through the forest to the cemetery. The mist is rolling in early today, clinging to the ground just like it did that first day. The one where everything changed. My father's grave looks different now the earth has settled. Grass is starting to grow. Time is doing what it does, softening the sharp edges of grief. I'm not crying this time. I'm waiting. And then he's there. Not in royal regalia, not surrounded by warriors or ceremony or the weight of his crown. Just Daniel. I've started thinking of him that way in my private moments, though I've never said it aloud. Just a man walking through mist toward a woman who shouldn't matter to him but somehow does. He stops a few feet away, and for a moment we just look at each other. Thank you for coming, he says finally. You asked, I say simply. I wanted to. He exhales, and I realize he was nervous. The Alpha King was nervous about whether I'd show up. I've been thinking. He begins, then stops. Starts again. No. I've been lying to myself, pretending I could keep this. Professional, distant. He takes a step closer. But I can't. Not anymore. My heart is thundering so loud I'm sure he can hear it. That day, he continues, gesturing to my father's grave. When I found you here, crying in the mud, I told myself I was helping, because it was the right thing to do, because it was justice. And it was those things. But it was also... He pauses, searching for words. It was you. The way you loved fiercely enough to grieve that hard. The way you fought for your family even when you thought no one was listening. The way you looked at me like I could be more than just a king. Kale, I start, but he shakes his head. Let me finish. Please. He takes another step, and now he's close enough to touch. Close enough that I can see the vulnerability in his eyes, the fear beneath the strength. I'm not good at this. At wanting things for myself instead of for the pack. At putting my own heart before duty. But you. His hand lifts, cupping my face with devastating gentleness. You make me want to be selfish. Tears blur my vision, but they're not sad. They're overwhelmed, overflowing with feeling too big to contain. I don't have a mate bond to offer you, he says. No mystical certainty. No predetermined fate. Just choice. My choice. His thumb brushes across my cheekbone. I choose you, Mira. Not because the moon wills it or biology demands it, but because you're brilliant and brave, and you challenge me and see me and make me want to be better, because when I imagine my future, you're in it. My breath catches. I'm an Omega. You're a king. People will... I don't care. And the fierce certainty in his voice leaves no room for doubt. Let them talk. Let them disapprove. I've spent my entire life doing what's expected, what's proper, what serves the pack. And I'll keep serving. I'll keep being the king they need. But this us is mine. If you want it. If I want it? I laugh through tears. Kale, I've been falling for you since you knelt beside me in the mud and asked who hurt me. Since you listened when no one else would. Since you trusted me to fight my own battles and stood beside me instead of in front of me. Since you helped fix our bakery roof and laughed at stories about geese. His eyes close briefly, like my words are a relief too profound for expression. I love you, I whisper. Not your crown, not your power. You. The man who comes here without guards and asks instead of commands and makes me feel like I matter. You do matter, he says fiercely. You matter more than... I kiss him, or he kisses me, or we collide in the space between, finally closing the distance we've been fighting for weeks. His arms wrap around me, pulling me close, and I rise on my toes, my hands fisting in his shirt. The kiss is gentle at first, tentative, like we're both afraid this is a dream that will shatter, but then it deepens. And it's perfect. It's choice and want and love freely given. No bond forcing us together, no fate decreeing it. Just two people who found each other in grief and built something real from the ashes. When we finally break apart, he rests his forehead against mine, both of us breathing hard. I can't promise this will be easy, he murmurs. There will be opposition, challenges, people who say you're not enough. Then we'll prove them wrong, I say. Together, he echoes and smiles. Actually smiles. Wide and genuine and more beautiful than anything I've ever seen. The mist curls around us, the cemetery quiet except for the sound of our breathing. My father's grave sits nearby, and I hope that somewhere he's proud. That he knows his death wasn't meaningless, that it sparked something bigger than any of us expected. Justice, change, love. Come on, Kale says, taking my hand. Let's go home. And we walk out of the cemetery together, leaving grief behind and carrying hope forward into whatever comes next. Thank you for listening to another emotional, magical shifter romance here on Tina Romance Library. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, so you never miss more powerful, heart-gripping romance stories.